Death Note, one of the weirdest, by premise, anime that I've ever heard of. It was much weirder watching it, much like Food Wars probably is. Now, I have read the manga and watched the anime. I'm only going to be covering the anime. First, I'm going to tell you this. I am going to be biased. I just am. However, I will try to remain fair in certain aspects of my review. Death Note was the second anime I ever watched, right behind Angel Beats. It was something I was really apprehensive about initially. I didn't know what to expect. I genuinely thought it was going to be about a crackhead. I thought L was a crackhead, studying the Death Note with this close-minded, annoying roommate. I feel like I was partially right in my prediction. However, this isn't about my predictions. I am going to be rating Death Note on a scale of 0 to 10. I will be reviewing the plot, characters, and how much I personally was invested into it. Each of these sections will be rated on a scale of 0 to 5. Everyone's tastes are different, and as such, I can't really say that it's easy to be invested in. It's not a bank account. Not everyone wants to be involved in Death Note. Warning! There will, of course, be spoilers. If you do not like spoilers, turn away now. Go watch some other content. Come back later if you want, or continue watching at your own risk. Starting off with Death Note's plot. Okay, so the general plot is, in my own words, a high school prodigy named Light Yagami, who has high expectations set for himself by his family, has a mental break when finding an object called the Death Note. He decides, hey, the world is kinda shit, and decides to play the role of God. He even calls himself God, and kills off criminals and even school bullies, the world giving him the name Kira. The police know something bad is happening, and find that L, the best detective in the world, has taken on the case. L and Light then have to find out who the other is by their real name first. The plot is very interesting to me. I love this kind of good versus bad mentality with such extremes involved. As you follow the plot of the anime, you don't really know who's right and wrong. It's a question of morals in a way, and I love it. I think that it was one of the most original plots of anime, or at the very least one of the only ones to follow such a seemingly mundane setting with such supernatural elements. I also love how they keep both the protagonist and the antagonist on their toes the entire time. Neither one is really outsmarted by the other. I give this plot 5 out of 5 points. Each character will be rated 0 to 5. The totals will be added up and divided by the number of characters that I went into to get the average. That average will be the score for this category. Light was very well built for the character he was meant to be. Do I like him? No! But this isn't about how I feel about Light. I might do videos on how I feel about certain anime characters in depth later. I probably will, actually. Subscribe, turn on notifications. Anyway, Light had the perfect setup to be the character he is. He had so much pressure on him to be good, even perfect, but there was so much bad in the world, and Light saw it. While I might not like him, I feel he was done really well. The power presented to him caused a mental snap, and it's quite interesting because we know it's the reason he snapped. As seen in the anime, spoiler incoming! Light comes up with a scheme to give up the Death Note and get it back later, but the period between giving up the Death Note and retrieving it, Light has no memory. We can see exactly how he acts without that power presented to him, and he's fairly normal. He was cunning, intelligent, and never really made severe mistakes. Light, despite my bias, you get 4.5 out of 5. I'm taking 0.5 off because you don't have too much else to your personality, and that truly bores me. L is complicated, because we don't end up knowing much about him. Death Note is very careful not to give you too much on backstory for any of these characters, except a few of them. L was not one of them. L is the best detective in the world, an orphan as far as we know, who was raised and trained in Whammy's house. L has a lot of personality to him that we see from the small bits throughout the course of the anime. A lot of these traits come from how his mind works. L believes in logic more than anything else, and when something that is supernatural could be real, it scares him, as seen when the Shinigami being real is brought up. L screams bloody murder and falls out of his chair. His logic also reaches why he fights against Kira. Though it is not said in the anime that I remember, it is likely something to the tune of, if we kill the killers the way Kira is doing, are we not criminals ourselves? Or something more cynical, like, if they're going to die anyway, the least we can do is lock them up and make their lives miserable. L is, overall to me, a great character. He's logical, and in a way philosophical, and I love this about him. He gets 5 out of 5 because while there doesn't seem to be much of him, you do get a lot out of him if you really pay attention. I can't with her. This girl was given a story. Her parents were killed, and Kira killed the person who killed her parents. Okay, that's all well and good. Waiting for something good, and... Wait, what? The fucking... Okay, so she wormed her way into Light's life. Is the reason that Elle died, basically. She lets herself be abused and manipulated. I despise her. She has no personality. She doesn't even have a good design that I can give her points for. 1 out of 5 for loyalty, I guess. Next character. I loved Ryuk. I found Ryuk to be a very interesting device. He didn't help Light unless it entertained him, but he didn't side with Elle either. He was so chaotic while staying almost entirely neutral. He's kind of a representation of the chaos within us, in my opinion. Just that boredom and desire to do anything but just sitting around. Ryuk has proven to be very cunning though, as proven by the way he got the second Death Note to drop into the human world. I will give him 4 out of 5 because he was funny, interesting, a cool symbol, and I feel this is what he deserves. Rem had a lot to her. The reason she ended up with Misa at all was quite interesting for me. Another Shinigami, who was her friend, died protecting Misa, as a Shinigami cannot kill to save another human lest they turn to dust. Why? I don't think this was actually explained. Rem shows a lot of emotion, more than other Shinigami actually, and she became attached to Misa. Even though it meant she would die, she killed Elle and Watari to save Misa, because she couldn't let her die. And this is another reason I hate Misa, the dumbass, selfish son of a... Ugh, 5 out of 5. Next! Watari is a very intelligent old man who seems like nothing more than a butler, but he was the one who founded Wammy's house after World War II. He's kind of like Elle's caretaker. Speaking for him, getting him food, but overall he is a smart and rather stern man towards the others. He has a lot of patience for doing what he does, and he is also rather generous in how he helps with the Kira investigation, even helping to build an entirely new building for it. You get 4 out of 5 points. He annoys me. I don't like how oblivious he is when Light isn't involved. He's a good man, but overall doesn't get all too much. It's sad. Still, he does try to do the best he can, and does let Elle do a lot of things in order to make sure Kira is caught swallowing his pride. So, 3 out of 5. Next. Cute cinnamon roll. Subjectively, Matsuda might not seem like the best character, but I adore him. He starts off kind of useless, but what can you expect for a new detective in his early 20s? He tries his best, and his loyalty to the cause is one of the best I've seen. He goes through confusion, growth, and being kind of bullied by the others. However, in the end, when he basically shoots Light to death, when he gets the courage to do it, to show his anger, it was one of the best moments I think I've ever seen. Matsuda was so selfless and willing for so long, and he did amazing over the course of the anime. Matsuda, you get 4.5 out of 5. I'm taking 0.5 off because Matsuda's development, as much as I liked it, was extremely inconsistent, but for only 37 episodes of content, I can't be all too upset about it. Aizawa was one of the weirdest characters in the anime. He had an afro, he didn't listen to Elle, in fact, he hated Elle and what he was doing. Elle did many times seem to be crossing lines, and while logically what he was doing made sense, Aizawa acted the most aggressive. He didn't try to go against Elle, but he was a character in the background that genuinely made me think, is what Elle is doing right? I liked that Aizawa was also protective of his family. In the end, I did end up agreeing with Elle, and I honestly had a lot of problems with Aizawa due to the fact that he was so stubborn, but I understand now that he was just following his own logic for the most part, which, respect to a certain extent. I gained a lot of respect for him when he began questioning light. I liked that he was beginning to look at other possibilities. Shuichi Aizawa, you get 5 out of 5. You're a really good character. I'm trying not to be biased. MOXXI is... I don't have a lot to say about him. Out of the entire Kira task force, he was the one that wasn't really given anything. Didn't have a story, family that we know of. Really nothing. And because of that, I can't really actually give him a proper rating. I don't really remember him being much better in the manga, but even then, anime-wise, he doesn't have anything. So you get 0 out of 5. Hideki, I initially wasn't going to say anything about him, due to the general nature of how he was introduced. He didn't like L's methods, and had originally left the task force, but ultimately came back. I have respect for him, willingly putting his life on the line after initially leaving, and overall I did enjoy the fact that he had initially walked away, because he genuinely did have to think everything out. He also did have some funny moments, in my opinion, so you get 3.5 out of 5. Next! I loved Ukita. He was not the most prominent, and he was killed off really early, but his bravery and willingness to fight Kira was frankly pretty cool. Even though he was admittedly stupid getting himself killed, it did show his sense of justice and desire to protect, and I can respect that. I feel like he didn't get as much as he could have, but with the small amount of time he was given, I would give him 3.5 out of 5. I was very sad that he died. He isn't all too prominent, and I'm sad he isn't. He isn't going to get a high score, because all we know is he loves his wife, is an FBI agent, and is afraid of his wife's father. I'll give 2 out of 5 for being a good husband. She is smart, kind, and I loved her. I was sad that they killed her off so quickly, but it did make sense. I liked that she had the personality she was given, though I am sad that it couldn't be seen much more. I liked that she was smart, and the only reason Light got to her was because he managed to get to her mentally. Overall, I feel like she could have been great, but wasn't. She gets 2.5 out of 5. Next! I'm rating these two together because they're kind of a pair, so here's my 2 cents. I loved Nier and Mello. Everyone gives them shit, but overall, I found them to be rather interesting, especially with the intent of the creator. Nier and Mello were originally intended to be L's twin sons, but the creator could not see L having sex. Nier and Mello are interesting to me because they are 2 halves of the same whole. They both carry habits of L, which is something I like. It carries L on in a way and even alludes to the original intent. I liked that they both had the same goal in mind and went about accomplishing it in their own ways. Mello was always aggressive and driven, and in the end, he died trying to stop evil, while Nier was always calm and collected, and was the one who did stop quote-unquote evil. I give Nier a 4 out of 5, and I give Mello a 4.5 out of 5. Mikami is interesting, since he's a lawyer that doesn't agree with the law, but agrees with Kira. I find him to be kind of boring, even though I think he's definitely better than Misa. Teru doesn't have much with him. He's loyal to Kira, and can't seem to think for himself. He is aggressive inside and believes he's special, being picked as a messenger of quote-unquote God. I don't think there's a lot for him going on, but I will give him 3.5 out of 5. I have nothing to say about her, except that she is annoying, and worse than Misa. I despise her about the same amount, and frankly, she gets 0 out of 5 for being a carbon copy of Misa. I have literally nothing else to say about her. I bet you forgot that Matt existed, didn't you? Yeah, he's not the most prominent character, but he shows loyalty to Mello. He is a gamer and doesn't seem to be as aggressive as Mello. He is intelligent and rather jovial in comparison to both Mello and Nier. He dies being shot in the chest by the police. I liked that he was different from the others and being a bit more joyous due to diversity, loyalty, and overall having a gaming gimmick. Matt gets 4 out of 5. Okay, so this is a lot of characters. All the scores added together equaled 63.5. Now there were 19 characters, 63.5 divided by 19 equals 3.3, rounded. So the character category gets 3.3 out of 5. Now on to the most biased part of the video. This part is subjective. As I said before, Death Note is not for everyone. How interested was I in this anime? Death Note was one of my very first anime, and I admit, it does take a few episodes to really get into it. However, I loved how Death Note was executed. The main focus was two super geniuses hunting each other. Because of the reason they were hunting each other, the anime got away with not having to do what most others do. Since most are focused on who will win rather than anything else, that's the point of the anime. I feel like it did a good job of keeping the audience on the edge of their seats the entire time, and due to the moral battle and the way we could potentially take sides, it makes us more invested in the characters as well. There were so many times I had to take breaks from watching it because I was so scared and excited for what could have potentially come next. I will say it is a bit short, but they store so much content and information in such a small series. I have to give it a 4.5, partially because it took me probably 4 or 5 episodes to get into it, and that's a pretty slow start for 37 episodes. Anyway, we have the scores. 5 plus 3.3 plus 4.5 divided by 3 equals 9.8. So, Death Note gets a 9.8 out of 10. Like I said, the way we are drawn in will not be the same. So I decided to calculate the rating without the third category. So 8.3 divided by 2 equals 4.15, which isn't that good of a rating unless out of 5. So the real value in the end comes down to the viewer. My rating, however, will continue to be 9.8. I feel like it's fair. If you want me to do other videos like this, give a like. And if you like this video and are interested in other anime content or gaming content, subscribe, and I'll subscribe and turn on notifications. Remember, continue doing your fiery dance, and I'll see you next time, Larvestites. I cannot, for the life of me, talk like a normal human being. My throat is actually a little sore, and I think I need to drink water. I have not had water next to me, so I've just kind of been, taking drinks of water in between the separate recordings that I've been trying to do. What the fuck did I miss? Holy shit. I literally just looked back at the fucking chat. What the hell? Yeah. My roommate says that I should try to shorten down my videos, but I feel like with an anime review like Death Note, it's something I can get away with. Once in a while, get away with, maybe a 20-minute long video. Oh, shit. Am I still recording? Fuck.